All right, everyone, welcome back to Near Automata. Sorry, Twin Automata. All right, we're doing real interview hours.
I see.
Would you like to read your one tiny soft line?
You're right. I opened this one. This is me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's yep.
Yes. Talk freely. I'll edit it later.
What should I ask? Just so we're clear, I don't know much more about AI than your average Japanese person.
I mean, I just talk about whatever occurs to me, but why don't we make it a discussion format? That would make it more interesting, I'm sure.
The second she said those words, my mind filled with memories of the past. Discussion format?
Anyway, so that was my latest track. Peace, y'all.
You needed to... All right, because this looks like DJ Kurisu.
Yeah, we gotta Photoshop that for this time.
Oh, you really want me to do that? All right, we're gonna... Hold on, audience. You have to wait for 2 seconds here. While I get a screen cap of this and Vivian doesn't entertain you in the meantime. She's going to sit here and refuse to talk and make jokes, and I'm going to have to talk while doing something else.
I'm going to have entertained you once this is edited, and it will all be so worth it.
Okay, but that doesn't change the fact that
I've promised so many of these that I haven't done the edits so far yet.
I know.
I am writing so many checks that I'm not sure I can cash.
I know, which is why you... Never mind. You see, that's the level I'm thinking of when you're doing this, and you're thinking of that would be funny. You haven't yet realized you're signing yourself up to do more work later.
Anyway, I had a line, but I didn't read it.
No, you missed your opportunity.
Okay, what's wrong?
You okay?
I'm just thinking about DJ Kurisu's most recent mixtape. Both Maho and Moeka were staring at me confused.
You don't want to do it that way. It's fine. I'm just...
No. It's fine. Sorry, I just remembered when Kurisu said the same thing as you.
Kurisu did? When?
When she came to Japan, she gave a speech at the ATF on the time machine. No, she didn't. That happened in another worldline. In this worldline, Kurisu died before she ever gave that lecture on the time machine or came to the lab. No, I must have been mistaken. Sorry for getting things off track. Don't worry about me.
Yeah? Alright, well, I guess it's alright. So, where do we begin? Let me see. Research into artificial intelligence began almost at the same time that computers were born. The core of the AI we're creating is based off of what's called neural network technology. This technology was first proposed back in the 1950s. ENIAC, the world's first von Neumann architecture-based computer, was announced to the world in 1946, so basically the same time, right? At that time, computers were basically magic. Once the program was done, it would automatically solve any problem for you, no matter how complicated. It's still kind of true today. So scientists at the time decided that if they wrote a program that was even more amazing, it could solve even more problems, right? They felt that the ultimate evolution of the computer would be one that could think and learn like a human. But unfortunately, they were unsuccessful. Even now in the 21st century, we've been unsuccessful in creating an AI with general purpose intelligence like a human. Of course, it's not like we've been sitting on our butts and doing nothing. It's the exact opposite. We've failed to create the ultimate artificial intelligence, but we've succeeded in bringing all kinds of benefits to the field of information science. For example, OCR technology, which scans an image and reads the letters in it, is similar to the methods that humans use to recognize letters. I've heard rumors that before long, smartphones are going to have voice recognition built into them as well.
Hey, that aged well.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were writing this in the mid-2010s about the early 2010s. So they get to cheat a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, the first Steins Gate, I think, was written just prior to or roughly contemporaneously with its time, right? I think it was late aughts and it was set in the 2010. Whereas this came out in 2016, and they're writing about 2010, 2011. So they get to cheat a little.
It was also a field of study in AI research. But even 60 years after the field got its start, no one succeeded in creating an artificial intelligence that has the comprehensive capabilities of a human. Except for Amadeus, of course.
Why did no one succeed? And I guess that doesn't count because that's not an artificial... I guess that's not creating artificial intelligence. That's essentially just brute force copying a human's neural network, or neural structure. Which, I don't know, I guess she makes a distinction there.
Is that how
I don't know.
Amadeus works? I feel like it's vague.
It is kind of vague because what they talk about is updating. Like, it seems to have like some structure that is able to interpret memory data.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Hey, actually, as a tech person, how has all this sounded so far?
Parts of it sensible. Other parts of it maybe not so.
Really?
But can we open up that history backlog?
Yeah. I say as a tech person, I mean you've
No, actually, this is great. This is spot on.
This stuff in specific is stuff that you've had experience with.
My brain got ahead of me and misremembered that I had just seen the text about Amadeus and how it worked, instead of that just being a thing that we went on a tangent about.
Fair enough. So why has no one succeeded?
I suppose the simplest way to say it would be that we don't know how the brain works.
Maho tapped her temple with her index finger.
There's still a lot about the brain that we just don't know. How can a biocomputer made of just 100 billion neurons possess such power? How is it capable of recording and instantly accessing such a huge volume of information? Why is it capable of things like insight, where two seemingly unconnected events are put together? I could come up with all kinds of examples. There are a lot of problems that humans could solve easily, but the computers can't solve at all.
It's the immaterial soul.
Really? That's where you're staking your claim? I imagine that position being like, yeah, I've been a neuroscientist and researcher into AI technology as well, like both of these fields for a very long time, and I just feel like they're fundamentally incompatible. The human soul has to exist.
Yeah, we could end up there. That could be a conclusion we reach.
That's fucking wild.
I don't think it will be, but I think it's very funny to defend it.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that motivates a large number of my philosophical views.
Is what's funny to defend. Fair enough. Oh, there are?
Plenty. Could say that our job is going through each one and solving it in turn.
I think I'm having a little trouble seeing what you're getting at. Could you give me a concrete example?
I actually lied. Cartesian dualism isn't funny.
Why?
Because metaphysical idealism is really funny.
Metaphysical idealism.
There's just souls. No material
Moving
stuff.
along.
That's the one I'll defend.
I see.
Now, maybe I'll tell you about the frame problem. Let's say Kiryu was a robot.
Moeka had been taking notes, but she suddenly jerked up when her name was said.
Beep, boop. I'm a robot.
Oh my gosh, she's done it.
More accurately, the AI loaded into a robot. Kiryu, I'd like to use that table. Can you move the voice recorder just a little bit?
Moeka moved the voice recorder from the table to the floor. Maho started to rummage through her bag as she did so.
I'm sure it's in here. Oh, here we go.
She took out a small white box, small enough to fit inside her tiny hands. She opened it and extracted the contents. It was an UPA, the same thing that Mayuri collected.
She's going to do the anime version of Ludwig Wittgenstein's famous beetle in a box thought experiment.
Stop this. Maho handed it to me, so I took it and touched it. It had the texture of an eraser.
Mayuri gave this to me yesterday. Pretty cute, huh?
Was it really? I never quite understood what girls, particularly Mayuri, would find cute. I guess it is round. Is that cute? I returned the Upa to her. She put it back in the box, closed the lid, and put the box in the center of the table.
Alright. I'm gonna do a simple experiment right now. Okabe, order Kiryu to take the Upa out of the box.
Order her?
That's right. She's an AI, so just send her a program so she'll perform the right movements.
The right movements, huh?
They should be as simple and specific as possible. For example, there are a lot of boxes in this room. But you need to tell her to open the one on the table and not any of the others. You only get to send words, no pointing and saying this box. Kiryu, do exactly what Okabe orders you to. Do only what he says as faithfully as possible. You got it?
Okay.
Let's start the experiment. Okabe, go ahead and give your orders.
I didn't quite get the point of all this, but I decided to just say the first thing that came into my mind. Open the pure white box on the table and take out its contents.
Kiryu, that's your order. Open the pure white box on the table and take out the contents. Do as you were told as faithfully as possible.
Moika's gaze moved from me to the box on the table.
I can't.
Why not? You just have to open the box, right? I pointed to the box in the center of the table, uncertain as to what was going on. Moika just looked back at me, clearly upset. Maho nodded, satisfied.
She can't help it. Look.
Maho picked up the box and showed me the other side. Der alte Würfel nicht.
What the fuck does that say?
What is this?
Der alte Würfel nicht. God does not play dice. Something that Einstein said. Kiryu couldn't open the box because of that, right?
That's right.
Huh. Is it? Why? What about those words means that you couldn't follow the instructions?
It wasn't pure white.
Huh?
Kiryu, you are exactly correct. Okabe's orders were to open the pure white box and take out its contents, right? But this box isn't pure white. It's got something written on it. That's why she wasn't able to open it. Computers aren't like humans. They're only capable of doing exactly what they are told. So you need to be extremely careful with how you order them.
Maho put the box back on the table. I couldn't see the letters from where I was.
Shall we try it again? Okabe, try to come up with some appropriate orders, based off of what you just learned.
I see. In other words, the problem was that I said pure white when I shouldn't have, right?
That's part of it, yeah.
So I should try making it simpler, perhaps. Open the box on the table and take out the contents.
Kiryu, do what Okabe ordered you to. Exactly what he said. Nothing more, nothing less.
Moika turned her gaze once again from me to the box on the table.
I can't do it.
Now what's the problem? Moika's brow wrinkled a little as she pointed at the box on the table.
This isn't a box.
I'm sorry, what? Maho burst out laughing as if she couldn't contain herself any longer. Her smile seemed more childlike than ever.
Kiryu, you are a wonderful test subject. I didn't think it would go this well.
I had no idea what was going on. What do you mean? Maho turned the box around and explained the trick to me. This is not a box. You wrote something on it?
These words meant that Kiryu couldn't tell for sure if it was a box or not, so she couldn't open it, right?
That's right.
No. It doesn't matter what it says. A box is a box, right? I like how very accurate this is to like trying to use a chatbot for certain things.
Yep.
Right? Like it kind of highlights this exact weird friction between a whole lot that comes with a whole lot of implied knowledge and understanding that comes with interpersonal communication. Even for someone who, like myself, who has trouble at times talking to other people and making myself understood. There's still like a level of mutual understanding that goes into having a conversation with someone that a computer just can't replicate.
Yep.
Right? It's like, even if you're struggling with it, you're still, when someone says open the box on the table, you'll be able to understand that open the box, even if the box says this is not a box on it.
AI doesn't know that. You need to tell it exactly what a box is. For this experiment, we assumed that Kiryu had a basic idea of what a box was. But as you've just seen, adjust the information they receive even a little, and an AI won't do what you want it to. Also, there's only this one box on the table, but if there were a square stone that looked just like a box, you need to, in order to differentiate the two. If the stone was on top of the box, you'd first need to give an order to move that as well. So you need to remove each possibility, one by one.
It would never be done, huh?
Yup, never. Kinda like that one dude who had a raven. I think. Is that how this works? You're trying to eliminate all the things you don't want it to do, so only the thing you want it to do remains. Yeah, that sounds right. You don't
Temple's greater sage grouse.
Temple's greater sage grouse. No one's gonna know what that's a reference to, but I appreciate it.
You don't know what conditions can affect the AI's judgment, so you need to include every possibility you can think of. Kiryu, what did you have for breakfast today?
For breakfast today? What was this about?
A jam bun.
Do you have any choices besides jam buns for breakfast?
A meat bun.
Oh, if you chose the meat bun, your actions might have changed, right? You need to take that into account as well. Also, there's the weather, too. It's clear outside today, but if it was raining, you might have to take that into account. There's also the temperature and humidity of the room. The color of the table is important as well. Also, you need to measure its height for the floor and know what type of material it's made out of. That curtain's open, but what if it was closed? You'd also need to test the cases where it was half open and 75% open individually as well. The cleanliness of the curtain might play a factor. When's the last time it was cleaned? You also need to consider how much you paid, the cleaner's attitude, its parameters, and...
Stop! I had to stop her before she went any further. There's no way this morning's breakfast could influence whether or not she picks a box up off the table. Let alone how clean the curtain is. So couldn't you just take them off the list? Maho's eyes began to shine.
That's it! That's exactly right!
What?
You're exactly right, Okabe. Breakfast and the weather have nothing to do with opening a box.
Then...
But how did you know that?
Huh? Well, I mean that normally And then I understood the point of this experiment. Maho nodded, satisfied.
That's right. An AI doesn't know what normal is.
I see.
That is the frame problem. An AI needs to consider an endless number of attached conditions to know how to execute an order. The vast majority of those conditions could probably be ignored, but the AI doesn't know which to ignore, which means it has to consider everything. But everything is an infinite set, isn't it? If it has to examine an infinite number of conditions, it will never be able to pick up that box. A human knows without having to think that breakfast and the table's color have nothing to do with opening a box. But an AI doesn't. A human can easily frame which conditions need to be accounted for, but an AI can't. So that is the frame problem.
I see. Interesting. Moika seems to be on her phone, though, so maybe we'll wait for her to be.
So I was specifically trying to remember some terminology because now this one is interesting.
Oh.
Because this is not quite the direction of how things went in the field.
Oh.
So what Maho describes is in some ways similar to what you might think of as like a rule-based AI, an expert system, I think is a term some people have used, but like thinking about modeling knowledge as a series of rules and procedures and steps to go through.
Right. So
And-
like A follows B and then, yeah.
Yeah, and that's definitely not how the grand majority of folks are approaching things nowadays. There's also an element in it of thinking of supervised versus unsupervised learning, where we're thinking of, okay, well, we need this AI to know what a box is. So to do that, we need to give it some examples of boxes and non-boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we need to give it all the rules that helps it determine the one from the other and test it by how well it does on our examples. That's not quite how things ended up going either. Most of the things people are doing nowadays are using stuff like neural networks, where you are just throwing a big blob of interconnected units of computation, individual neurons, virtual neurons, at the problem, and you are not programming rules into it and giving it a defined structure. You're letting it build its own structure. And most of this is also not supervised learning. Well, maybe not most, but lots of it is not supervised learning, where you're giving it a set of examples that are clear-cut yeses or nos and trying to teach it to get those right. You're just throwing it raw situations and letting it use reinforcement learning to kind of build up its own idea of what counts and what doesn't as part of a category. So all these like large language model things, you don't toss it a set of grammar rules, and you don't toss it a set of well and poorly formed English sentences. You just dump the entirety of Wikipedia into it and let it guess what the structure of English is.
Yeah, it's kind of approaching it from the different angle, saying like, it's because at a functional level, it's not possible to define all those things.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's saying like, well, clearly we get along somehow, so like, why shouldn't that also work for a sufficiently large set of virtual neurons?
And it's interesting that the direction the field has moved nowadays is, in some ways, more similar to how humans learn things. At the same time, like, that's totally over-anthropomorphizing it. I talked about it creating its own idea of things,
right?
And blah,
as if
blah,
it had
blah,
agency or like a sense of self.
And
no,
there's not a reason to think that's the case of, as far as I know, anything that exists yet, unless someone's got a secret machine person in a DARPA lab somewhere I don't know about. But
hey, DARPA, if you got one of those, feel free to let us know. We'll do a video on the channel.
But yeah, I found this interesting. This feels like the point of divergence between basic,
where people assumed AI research would go and where it has actually ended up. Yeah. And even over like the past half decade, right?
That said, I feel like the frame problem, I feel like I've heard those words.
The frame problem, is that where you've got like a picture, but it's from an overseas camera and you can't get one that fits the correct size of the printout of the photo?
Yes, it absolutely is.
Sorry. Okay, you know what? I apologize for that one. That was bad.
Okay. So yeah, the frame problem is a real thing though. And it dates back to 1969. And right, that's the term I was looking for. I was looking for knowledge representation. So this is kind of like classic AI back in the late 60s, 70s, back when we had a lot of really different ideas about how things would go than how they actually ended up going. But what she talks about is definitely a real thing, and it definitely applies to particular sorts of systems, and there are still people who research those sorts of systems and use them for things. It's not a useless thing to think about. It's just that the like big breakthrough advances didn't come through finding solutions to those problems. They came through tossing out those approaches, those kind of systems, and trying something radically different. And
it seems to me like the general consensus is like those systems aren't what are going to be used for a generalized AI, if that is what if such a thing exists.
Yep. If we ever created a thing like that, it would be unlikely to be
right.
A
whereas
rule-based, logic-based system.
Whereas in the past, I think it's fair to say that probably was the consensus, that people assumed it would be something like this.
Yep. That we just got ourselves a complex enough logic engine together with a good enough representation of human knowledge in the form of these logical rules,
and with a series of a large amount, but like finite and good enough rules that could like be adequate enough. Right. Anyway,
long detour through one of my special interests, but I
No,
spend a
but
lot
I
of
mean,
time
like,
reading about this stuff and poking at things.
the thing is, you are like you have much more fluency and capability to speak on the subject than I do. So, and given that it's something you actually take active interest in, that is cool. Always feel free to interrupt the episode with stuff like that. That's what you're here for.
I have been activated.
What do you mean you've been activated? It's episode 14. You weren't activated before now? Up until now, Vivian's just been phoning it in.
I fucking take classes about how to build neural networks from scratch for fun. SK can confirm that I have done this.
She does do that. Yes, she does.
It's cool. I like computers.
It is cool.
I like my little bot children that live in my laptop and do things like try to see what a number is but aren't very good at it, or try to make Shakespearean poetry and aren't very good at it.
Taken separately from the society, like the social issues that arise from how we're using AI nowadays, I can say that like in a vacuum, that kind of stuff is really cool. And I think it is really fascinating the way that all works. But all my reservations with it come from like how it is being used to like, and how it, like it's being postured or threatened to be in a position to like take people out of like creative jobs and stuff like that. But anyway, that's not what you're here for. You're here
To hear me do this voice for like another 60 minutes or so.
You're here to hear me amateurishly pontificate on the history of artificial intelligence research.
Anyway, I feel like we were just staring at each other for a long time. Why are humans able to create a frame then?
We have no idea. It's been one of the mysteries of the AI field for 60 years. One of the goals of the Amadeus project is solving the frame problem. When you look at Kurisu, it may feel like she solved it, but we don't know how.
Frame problem is solved via the immaterial soul. It picks the frame out of the Akashic records. Got it in one.
Stop this. We're not coming out in favor of the immaterial soul.
Okay, how about the material soul?
Don't we know? Is it like what, 7 grams? Is that how much a soul
Exactly.
weighs?
Souls are a material object, and they weigh exactly 7 grams. That's
That's
what
how much
are.
That's how much that one dude weighed it to be, right?
Something like that. I don't remember.
I don't remember. Or is it 21? I don't remember.
Regardless, that's also a funny philosophical view, so I'm willing to defend that one.
In fact, neither does Kurisu.
You don't know? Didn't you make Amadeus?
Well, sure, I can give you a dozen hypotheses, but if you want them. But then I'm gonna hit it go ahead before I finish reading my line. But we've got no mathematical proof. And anyway, what I made was the mechanism for extracting and digitizing human memories, and then an AI that executed them like a human brain.
What storage format are those in? Is it just like JPEGs and text files in there, or what?
What do you like to
Is
know?
it like a .7 zip file? Is that what's inside Amadeus'
No, we
head?
use RAR.
Nice.
Got the whole thing up on RabbitShare, actually.
But you have to get all the 6 parts and then run the tool to combine them back into the original file.
Exactly.
And if you fuck it up, you get a corrupted thing. Good times, good memories.
We used to host it elsewhere, but we felt like we were giving Mr. .com too much money.
So I see they haven't moved to BitTorrent yet.
It's a total simulation of the brain, but that doesn't mean we understand how everything works.
It's actually not a total
no.
simulation of the brain. Then they've taught it's a simulation of a brain that can't forget, or of like, it's a simulation of something brain-like, but critically doesn't forget anything. Right? That's not a simulation of a brain perfectly.
But this is also veering back towards accuracy to where the field went again, because with a lot of these large neural network-based systems that we have nowadays, we know that they work, and we have an extremely hard time explaining exactly why.
Yeah.
A lot of it's just done empirically with tweaking and trying different things and feeding it increasing amounts of data and processing power until something just starts working. And then the process of trying to go in and reverse engineer how and why does this work is a whole different and much more challenging story that we don't have an answer to yet in a lot of cases.
Fun.
We know that if you create an object with the same mass as Earth, it'll have gravity equal to 1g.
Is that true? Is it only mass that determines gravity?
Isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is only mass that determines gravity. Yeah, sorry, for whatever reason, I got hung up in my head, like, wait, what about density? And like, wait, no, that's, of course not. What am I saying?
Although, there's also the matter of gravity distance matters, so it depends, like,
right,
where is it going to be 1g? If we make it into, like, a very long filament and stand you at one end of it or in the middle, you'll have different gravitational
right, because I was
forces.
thinking of, like a huge balloon with them, hollow sphere, right, that has enough surface but is still the same mass as Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that doesn't feel like that works. Then again, I don't know enough off the top of my head to say that for certain, so what do I know?
I don't know shit about physics, so I'm just going to confidently assert things.
Cool. I'm gonna hit my line now.
Okay.
We know that if you create an object with the same mass as the Earth, it'll have gravity equal to 1g. But that doesn't mean we know how gravity works. Is that easier to understand?
Not a lot easier, but I see what you're getting at. You've created an AI that works like a human, but how it works like a human you don't know.
That's about right, yeah. But that's still a huge advance in AI research. Research to simulate the functions of a neuron has been going on for a long time. But we've never found a way to create data that could function effectively. That data is a complicated, intertwined web of everything that humans need, categorized and stored in their brains over decades.
In other words, memories?
Exactly. The structure of memories has been a mystery for a long time. Thanks to Kurisu's research, we were able to extract an entire set of memories and digitize them. We still don't know how the data itself is stored, but we know how to use it now.
And that's Amadeus.
Yeah, that's right. This happens a lot in AI research. But someday I'm gonna find out what human intelligence really is. And then, Kurisu, I will finally...
Maho suddenly fell silent in the middle of her sentence. What's wrong?
Nothing. Nothing. Is there anything else you want to know? It doesn't have to be about the frame problem.
There was a lot I wanted to ask, but I felt like we had more than enough for Moika's article. I looked at Moika, who hesitated a second before speaking.
Yeah, what's up, Kiryu?
Can I stop being a robot?
I don't know, can you?
She got you there.
Is it possible for artificial intelligence to surpass human capabilities?
I mean, that's an interesting question. In terms of knowledge, Amadeus probably surpasses anyone in this room. She has Kurisu's memories, after all.
There was no matching the knowledge of a genius. So being a genius is about quantity of knowledge.
Ha ha ha.
Got it. I'd gone up against Kurisu any number of times and learned that the hard way.
But that's just comparing her to us. Memories for Kurisu come from Kurisu herself. In other words, they're still human memories. We'd probably need to think about whether this can truly be considered surpassing a human's capabilities. But it won't be long before we've got an AI that does more than a human can, I think. Scientists have been saying for a while that by 2050, AIs will surpass humanity. They call it the singularity point, you see. Amadeus' arrival should bring that day much closer than we anticipated.
This is something that a lot of real thought goes into as well.
I imagine so.
Because there's a lot of places where we talk about less about surpassing humanity than we do about human level performance for a specific task. Because one of those is a lot more easy to define, and one of those is a lot more philosophical. It's a lot more
Right,
easy
right,
to define, given this task. If we take a bunch of humans and have them do it, we can empirically measure what's human level performance like, and
Right.
is
And
the
then
machine doing that good? And trouble is, it's easy to see how well an algorithm that you built is doing when it's doing much better than you, the human, could. When it's doing much worse than you, the human, could. So you can
Right.
see a lot of obvious errors and know what you need to tweak to make it better. What do you do when it's performing about as well as you and it's harder to tell? What do you do when it starts performing better than you do and it's even harder to tell? It gets challenging,
That's
increasingly challenging to start optimizing.
interesting
these
question,
things.
because I feel like that's not unsolvable. Because I feel like if you're asking it to do a specific thing, whether or not you are able to do it with that level of fidelity, you're still able of measuring like its level of performance. Like, oh, it's 20% faster. It's 20% better at metric X than it was before. Right? If you're comparing it to human, like a human was able to load this box in 15 minutes. We got now the AI can do that in 15 as well. Cool. Now the AI can do that in 10. Okay, I don't feel like you've lost the ability to
The trouble is that not every situation is like that. If you think about things like let's say we're gonna look at X-ray slides of folks' lungs, and we're gonna see is this a malignant tumor or not, something like that.
Okay.
We're doing a classification problem. We want to know, is this malignant or benign? And it's easy to keep on feeding it more and more data of stuff it doesn't know, as long as it's doing worse than human radiologists are. But if it gets to a point where it's doing as well as or better than human radiologists, how do we feed it more data that isn't just junk? The data we feed in has to be labeled by humans in the first place for it to learn from it and figure that shit out.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying now.
So there's a kind of scaling ceiling we start to run into with a lot of different types of problems where it's no longer clear what you do to get performance optimized further.
Right, and if it's performing at a level higher than you can't reasonably check that work.
Yep.
Right, because it's assuming that it's doing better than you could possibly do to check it.
Yep. It could get something totally wrong.
I see
and
what you're talking about here.
Not know.
Okay. That's a great question. I hadn't considered it in that way. I was stuck in like a particular kind of metric, like mode of thought about that. But no, you're absolutely right.
And that mode of thought, though, that I would say isn't wrong. I think some people thinking about things like embodied and embedded cognition, you might hear things like that, might suggest as a way to do better with this. That one of the reasons why these tasks that we are thinking about are difficult to deal with and difficult to keep scaling, keep getting better, is because they're these abstract things really disconnected from other stuff. And humans do our learning as effectively as we can because we are not just a brain in a vat doing a single problem. We are this embodied entity in a world full of objects we interact with and other beings like us attempting to achieve the same ends, and it's all of the things we're doing for those are embedded into this context. So a case like you're saying where it's like, oh, we are trying to see, can it load this faster than a human? We're dealing now with this practical embodied task in a real context together with other agents.
Yep.
And then it's like, maybe now we have a different standard to learn by, different things to do. Maybe we could get better, but that's also ever so much harder because now you're talking about a thing where we got to build this artificially intelligent system, then build it a body, and then have it able to interact with all of these things in the world around it. And but it's interesting.
Yeah, like absolutely. I really had gotten caught up on that distinction, or on that incorrect assumption of what kind of problem we were thinking of in that case. But yeah, you're so smart. You know that.
I feel
like people say you're so smart when they
have.
have no idea what else to say because the person speaking has just like so thoroughly outclassed them that nothing I say now is going to sound even remotely on the level. So
legitimately nothing that I actually do in my computer's job has any connection to this stuff, and I am probably wrong about half the shit I say, but
No, but
it's fun
you
to
are at
think
least
about.
a moderately educated amateur.
Yeah.
And that positions you much in a position where you know much more of what you're talking about than I do. So, yeah.
I
But
do
also,
love-
you're not claiming to be an expert.
Yeah, I do love being a moderately educated amateur. That is one of my favorite properties.
That is one of my favorite cognito hazards.
Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
A machine that's better than a human, huh? Seems like something out of a movie. Is that possible?
It's hard to believe I'm hearing that from an engineering student. You can't fly like an airplane, can you? You can't run faster than a bullet train or do math as fast as a cheap calculator.
I could fly like an airplane once.
Is that flying or controlled falling?
Even right now, the abilities of a machine far exceed those of a human. Nobody can say that the brain will be the only exception. There is no miraculous mechanism in this world that science can't explain. It's all physical phenomena, you see. Once you know the underlying principles, you can recreate it artificially. My job is to solve the riddles we don't have answers for and make a true AI. How does that work for an interview, Kiryu?
But Moeka just stared at her with a memo pad. Just stared at her memo pad and didn't look up.
Kiryu?
Yes, this is plenty. I'm sure it will be an interesting article. Thank you too, Okabe.
Oh, yeah, of course. It was really interesting. It took us fully 40 minutes to do that scene.
That was great.
It was. It was.
And fully 35 of that was me talking about tangents.
No, but like that's the important stuff. That's what people come for, the tangents. I wanted to talk a little more, but both Maho and Moeka seemed to have work to do, so I decided to leave. It's all physical phenomena, huh? Maho thought exactly the way most AI researchers did, that there were no black boxes in the human brain. But I knew the truth. There were things inside the brain that science couldn't explain.
Does he know that?
So what the hell is reading Steiner anyway?
Does that follow?
I don't know that it follows, but I think maybe that's part of what he needs to tell himself. Right? Because remember, Okabe is not thinking... Okabe definitely has a vested... I don't know if he hasn't... It feels like... I started talking, and then I started thinking, and then I wanted to change what I was saying, and then I started thinking more than I wanted... You ever get that?
It's an easy mistake to make. I suggest simply not thinking. No thoughts, head empty. Just talk.
Was it ever going to be scientifically explained? Right, so he's not saying it won't be, he's just saying it's not is currently. Yeah, I think he's making too definitive of a statement there. Because they were already in the other world line, right? They were getting research subjects to try to understand reading Steiner.
Yeah.
Oops.
Maho quickly choked back her yawn and looked around to see if anyone saw her. There were other people doing the same thing she was, leaning up against the railing of the bridge and killing time. Of course, they were all too focused on themselves to pay her any mind. She planned on spending her day at Ferris's house, taking care of the paperwork left over from the office's temporary closure. But this morning... Alright, I don't have to do this. No, okay. But this morning she'd gotten a call from Dr. Leskinen that had sent her hurrying to Tokyo Denki University. Tokyo Denki had, it seemed, offered them a temporary room at the school while their office was closed. Dr. Leskinen had called Dr. Izaki at Tokyo Denki, who had given it to them without a second thought. So now she had decided to pay the new office a visit and discuss what they had planned to do for the future. The Kanda campus for Tokyo Denki University wasn't that far away from Akihabara, it seemed.
Sure is a nice day out, though.
The sky that poked out between the buildings had the clear color that was unique to winter. She'd spent the whole of yesterday cooped up inside her room, so the cold air felt good. She crossed her arms and reached upwards.
Sure is late, though.
The reason she was standing here was that she was waiting for Moeka.
Huh? Oh, there she is.
Sorry, almost there. Sorry.
Waiting for Moeka, but the same way one would say waiting for Godot.
Don't worry, take your time.
Say the line, Moeka.
You-
You didn't have to come all this way.
Maho didn't know the way to Tokyo Denki, so... Wait, not Okabe Boy. So Moeka had kindly offered to take her there, and she'd ask for something in exchange.
I want to take a picture of you, Dr. Hiacho.
Oh, what?
I want to put it in the article.
Yeah, alright.
Maho didn't really like having her picture taken, but if Moeka was nice enough to interview her, she wanted to do everything she could do to help. Moeka had gone back to her home to get her camera. She said it was close enough to walk, so Maho had decided to just wait. So wait, people got smartphones, but they still need to take photos using... I guess if you're taking a photo for, like, a magazine.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
okay, no, that's reasonable, never mind.
I want to know what kind of camera she has.
She's always so excited on Rhine, though.
She closed her phone and looked up, and then she saw Moeka directly under the bridge, running towards her.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Dr. Hiacho.
What? No, you didn't need to hurry so much. You want to take a break?
No, I'm fine.
Moeka went around in front of Maho and started to walk ahead. The year had just started and the subway was empty. Maho decided to take a closer look at Moeka, who was standing next to her and grabbing onto one of the handles. Trying to recognize any of these advertisements, and I don't recognize any of them offhand. Moeka realized she was being watched and tilted her head. Then she took out her phone and started to type.
Huh?
Maho's phone suddenly rang at the bottom of her bag. She just received a Ryan message.
What's up?
I see, so we can talk on the train like this. Feels strange talking to you on Rhine when we're right next to each other. You don't look like you're doing well. May have just been my imagination, though.
Moeka's expression didn't change much, but Maho thought that didn't mean she had no feelings. When she looked into Moeka's thin, pretty eyes, she could see that she was an interested observer of many things. Maybe that's what you'd expect from a writer. Canon, Maho thinks Moeka's eyes are pretty. Moeka Maho?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah?
Sorry to worry you. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. Sorry. I'll make sure you get to Denki U, Dr. Hiacho.
It's weird being called Dr. Hiacho.
Also, how did Moeka know that's where she needed to go?
Well, it's weird.
Yep. You don't have to call me doctor both in the real world and on Rhine. To be a little more informal.
Sorry. But then what do I call you?
How about babe for starters?
Yeah, what's up? What's up,
Yeah.
buddy? You good?
one, yeah.
Just call me by my name. That's what you do for Okabe, right? Jealous?
That's because he's a student and younger than me.
Well, you can treat me the same way. We'll be roommates for a while after all, and we're both about the same age. How we call each other Moeka and Maho?
You would never tell by looking at them, but Maho and Moeka were only a year apart. And Maho was 21 and Moeka 20, which meant that she was the older of the two. Maho couldn't help but wonder what kind of deal you had to make with God to get that height and those voluptuous breasts.
No way.
It's not a deal with God, it's just the estrogen.
Never called anyone by the first name. I'd be too nervous.
Ah. Then how about Kiryu and Hiacho? Please be one of the few friends I've got in Japan.
Got it. Will do.
Okay. Then try saying it now.
Moeka suddenly jerked upright and opened her eyes wide.
Here? Now?
Yeah.
Maho nodded at Moeka's whispered question.
If we're doing it, I want to start now.
But like I just said, I'm really not good at talking to people.
Really? Thought you were just nervous because Okabe was with us last night. Like you're the kind of person who gets nervous around the opposite sex.
It's true that when I talk to men, I get even more nervous.
In other words, when it's just girls, it's not so bad that you can't talk?
Well, maybe.
Eh? Eh? Huh? So since we're all girls, let's just get along. I know. How about this? When it's just the two of us, how about we try to talk in person instead of online as much as we can? I'd be less bored with someone to talk to. And if you're going to be a writer for a magazine, I think it'd be a good chance to practice, don't you?
Okay, I'll do my best.
Man. Okay, you know what? I didn't start this game thinking I was going to be a Maho Moeka shipper, but here we are.
I find it very funny that Moeka is the only person in this entire story who compulsively treats Maho as, like, older and more prestigious, rather than treating her in a childlike and condescending way.
Yep.
So Maho only gets the choice of everybody else treating her like a child and Moeka treating her like some distinguished old professor, and that's all. No middle ground, and only Moeka does it that way.
Oh, it's perfect. Moeka seemed to steel herself, then turned towards Maho.
Hi. Hihiajo. Thank you for your help with this.
Yeah! You too, Kiryu.
The train arrived at their station. Aww. That was sweet. That was sweet. I'm here for it. The area around Tokyo Denki was quiet. Moeka told her that the surrounding areas were offices and government buildings, which meant at this time of year there was almost no one around. She felt bad, but decided to have Moeka wait outside. The school was still on break, so she could have waited in one of the rooms on campus, but Moeka had refused.
Okay, I'll call you when I get out.
She split up with Moeka. Maho got very lost on her way to Izaki's lab. The school was completely empty because of the break, so she couldn't ask anyone. In the end, she had to call Dr. Leskinen and get detailed instructions. A letter was taped to the door marked Dr. Izaki's lab. The letter had a photo of a smiling Dr. Leskinen along with some low-resolution text that looked like it was directly printed from a PC screen.
For immediate release. Global Brain Science Comprehensive Research Organization, Japanese Office Prep Room. The founder of this establishment, Alexis Leskinen, has a request. If everyone who saw this donated just $1, I could eat a can of Odin right now. He loves this stuff so much.
Okay, that is funny, though. If everyone listening right now donated just $1, I'd have several dollars. I don't... That's kind of neat.
What would you spend your several dollars on?
It's Bandcamp Friday when we're recording this, so I'd probably go buy another album or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's a good idea.
That seems like a good use of money, right? No matter how formal the setting, when the professor wanted to tell a joke, he'd do it. He really was just like a child, but his carefree personality let Maho and Kurisu relax and enjoy their work. Suddenly remembering Kurisu made her heart ache a little. She suddenly realized that her sudden change of address, coupled with living with a person she'd barely even met, was taking its toll on her. Today she'd finally get the chance to talk to her again. Or more accurately, the memories she'd left behind.
Professor! Dr. Leskinen?
When she stepped inside the lab and called the professor's name, the giant in the back came running to greet her.
Hey, Maho. Thanks for coming. Welcome to our powered-up prep room.
Huh. So this table and 2 sofas are our powered-up prep room, huh?
Yes, they say simplicity is the secret key to the truth, do they not?
Who says that?
I do.
The professor clapped his hands and laughed. Maho ignored him and went to sit on the sofa. He didn't seem hurt.
Now then, about our future plans.
Oh, sorry. I want to boot up Amadeus. Just give me a second.
She took out her laptop and put it on the table. Her OS, a Linux variant customized for research purposes, put it up and displayed the login screen.
Penguin representation here.
I'm sorry, penguin? Just penguin?
What?
Just penguin? That's what that bird is? Just a penguin?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize we were doing references.
You referenced it earlier.
Yeah,
I was
did.
just bringing it back.
That was like 5 minutes ago. How could I possibly
God
have that
damn it.
context still?
Now you're making me look like a fool. All right. See, when you do it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm on page with you. And when I do it, you're like, sorry, SK, I think you're being a bit of a weirdo right now.
Which Linux distribution does Maho use? Sound off in the comments,
Ubuntu.
everybody.
That's the only one I know, so that's the one she's using. Maho typed in her account name the same way she'd done 1,000 times before. Salieri. What is that photo? What is her background?
I don't know, but it's great.
It looks like an early build of Misericord.
It looks like the like scuffed grunge textures on the Steins Gate 0 UI.
Yep.
In a lot of ways.
It kind of does.
I like that the game has that aesthetic for a lot of UI things, but in no way in the actual game art style and like character assets and backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah.
Gotta have that cool grunge design. Let your designer go wild when that was popular in the I don't remember which part of the 2000s the grunge fonts and grunge textures.
See, every time you're saying grunge, I'm thinking about like Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, which are not related to this. For just a moment, she stared at the letters in her account name. She quickly put in the password and called up the desktop. And before long, Kurisu appeared on the screen.
It's been a long time, Maho.
A long time. We just talked 2 days ago.
That was an emergency. It didn't count.
What do you mean it didn't count?
And even besides that, we haven't gotten to talk much lately.
No, wait, hold on. We're not moving past this. What do you mean it didn't count? We talked to each other. Why doesn't that count as talking to each other? That's like saying you have a banana, but it doesn't count because you have a banana.
Oh yeah? Well, this doesn't count either then.
What the hell? It's not my fault. We were testing.
During Okabe and Kurisu's communication test, Maho and Dr. Leskinen had avoided talking to Amadeus to keep from adding noise to the experiment.
Not that Okabe's talked to me a lot lately, though. Are you two maybe meeting without telling me?
What?
You were together 2 days ago, after all.
I told you it's not like that. Where do you get these delusions that everything in the world is about romance, huh?
It's not a delusion. It's a highly accurate hypothesis based off of calm, dispassionate observation and analysis.
No, I think you're just a normie. If you like that stuff so much, maybe you should have majored in it, huh? Though, given how totally wrong you are, you probably wouldn't have graduated, let alone got your doctorate. Boom!
Dr. Leskinen brought his hands together in an exaggerated motion.
It feels like it's been so long since I've seen this. It used to be I could always find you wherever you were on campus. Because I could always hear you yelling at each other. Haha.
Come on, Professor, stop joking around.
It just means that you're very close. You two are like sisters. Now, let's get this meeting started. We need to talk about our future plans.
Huh.
The person who uses their time most efficiently wins. That's another of my great quotes. I want some music. Kurisu, can you play me something?
I'm not...
Right, Kurisu.
Sure.
A soft piano melody began to play from the laptop speakers.
Oh, this is...
Maho, do you remember? It's the song that brought us together.
She'd never forget. It was what had brought them together a year ago, and it was the symbol of their relationship. A year ago, in September of 2009, Kurisu had officially joined the Brain Science Institute. She'd completed the graduate school's doctorate program in May of that year, and had only turned 17 in July.
Wait! Wait. Did we already know Kurisu had a doctorate at 17?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we knew that.
Okay. I somehow hadn't processed that. I thought she was a graduate student. I thought that she had just gotten her bachelor's a year or two early and was in graduate school.
No, straight up teen genius.
How would you complete a doctorate that fast? You can't just do it in a year. Did she start when she was 12?
Incredibly smart and well-connected parents with incredibly bad priorities.
I'm just thinking like not even that, just the logistics of it takes time.
Yeah.
To do a doctorate.
Yep.
Regardless of how efficient you are. Like you have to do a fucking research thing and write your thesis and defend it. And it's like she couldn't have started at like 16. She would have had to start her doctorate when she was like a mid-teen.
Yep. That's what this is
So
implying.
she would have had to have graduated from college at like 12 or 13 or some shit. That's fucked up.
That's fucked up. Also probably means her childhood sucked ass, actually.
Yeah, so,
Yeah. Like, that sounds like an awful childhood. Like, I'm glad she's learning stuff she wants to be, but, like, even if you could be, like, go that far as like, someone who's still legally a child, should we be letting children do that? Like, this is the one time in your life where it's okay to just do things without responsibility. Is that really what we... Regardless, Maho herself had joined the Brain Science Institute at an extremely young age, but her record had been beaten by quite a lot.
Wait, so does Maho also have a doctorate?
I believe that's what they're saying, yeah.
I legit thought they were both graduate students working under Leskinen and not, like...
She's doctor. Doctor, yeah.
I thought only Kiryu called her that.
No, she's calling her that because she...
I didn't realize that... Yeah, wow, my preconceptions are being shattered here.
Kurisu was a genius. Everyone who met her could tell. Dr. Leskinen had been Kurisu's advisor during the program, so Maho had met her several times. Actually, you know what? Now that we've said this out loud, I think that's part of the reason why she sticks around the lab so much in original Steins Gate.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, Kurisu probably never had a childhood.
Yeah.
And probably didn't have time to, like, make friends her age.
Absolutely.
So given that opportunity to do so for once, I bet that had a lot to do with why she, like... Because again, when you put it in those stark terms, she doesn't need to be there for any fucking reason.
Other than the invention of literal time travel. So actually, kind of, yeah, there's a reason.
I mean, yes, but that came, like, when she started hanging out there, it wasn't clear that they had invented time travel.
Yeah.
Yet, right, so... And that was enough to tell her that Kurisu was different. Kurisu never showed off on her own talents. Actually, she didn't seem to think of herself as particularly intelligent at all. But that actually made it a little hard for the people around her to approach her. Whenever you talked to Kurisu, you were forced to realize that there was a gap between you and her that could never be erased. She'd learned later from Dr. Leskinen that things had been the same in grad school. It was rumored that it was the real reason she'd come to America from Japan at age 11. No matter what she wanted, no matter where she lived, she was cut off from the people around her. That's what it meant to be a genius like her. Since Maho was a girl too, and close to her in age, she actually considered Kurisu more of a rival. And since they were working in the same field, they were going to be compared, and she didn't want to lose. Maybe that was why Maho had never thought of going to talk to her. And Kurisu was so busy learning how to work at the lab that she'd never come to talk to Maho. But then 2 weeks after Kurisu came to the lab, a certain classical song had changed their relationship forever.
And play.
There were two types of people in the world. Those who worked better with music, and those who worked better with silence. From a brain science perspective, the idea that you could concentrate better with music was sheer nonsense. Whether you were aware of it or not, the sound was vibrating your eardrums, and your brain was continually analyzing it. But if there was ever a public debate on the subject, Maho would want to take the first position. Theory and feelings were different. You could concentrate best with music in the background, and you could be more creative.
Also, isn't this, like, not true? Isn't there empirical research that, like, some kinds of music can help concentration?
I don't know. I would believe it. But I don't know that for a fact. But there was one condition.
The song has to have been composed by Mozart.
Maho Maho whispered to herself as she turned toward the computer. She had been running a patch on some equations for 2 full days, and it had finally completed. Today she was going to spend the whole day analyzing the output. It was Saturday, so she was the only person in the lab. This was the one day she had this whole huge space to herself. So she decided to play Mozart's 11th Sonata from the speakers, not her headphones. She didn't intend to pay any attention to the music. This was more like a ritual she needed in order to concentrate. It was a warm-up exercise before she could dive into a sea of numbers and equations. Once she dove in, she wouldn't need it anymore, so she simply stopped hearing it. She stopped seeing everything around her, too. All she saw was the numbers and equations. All that was in her head were numbers and equations. All that was left was a thinking machine named Maho Hyajo. Her mind left behind the bonds of her physical body, and the speed of her thoughts accelerated toward the infinite. It was time for another fun journey.
Good morning.
Ah!
Someone suddenly whispered in her ear, and Maho jumped out of her chair, lost her balance, and fell. She looked up and saw Kurisu staring down at her, beginning to panic.
I'm sorry, I didn't think you'd be so surprised.
Kurisu! Don't scare me like that. God!
I called your name a bunch of times, but you didn't seem to hear me.
Oh.
Maho stood up and sat back in her chair.
Sorry, I was focusing so much that I didn't really hear you.
Yeah, I thought so.
You should have just left me alone!
Maybe Kurisu could tell she was thinking that because she quickly added,
I felt bad about it, but since I'd run into you on a weekend, I thought I should say something. And you seemed like you'd just started, so I didn't think I'd be a bother.
Did you just get here, or what?
Yeah, I thought I'd be the only one here. I'm surprised.
Then Maho realized something was strange.
You said you just got here, right? So how did you know that I'd only just started working?
Oh, because...
Kurisu pointed to the speakers.
You're still at the start of the first movement. The view from the side makes it definitely look like the hair is asymmetrical in the front.
Yeah, it does, actually. I think you're absolutely right.
K331, Mozart's Piano Sonata, number 11 in A major, first movement.
Huh. You like Mozart?
I just know a little about him. And it's really more that I just like this song. The Turkish march is more popular, but the melody in the first movement feels so much more pleasant, doesn't it?
I agree.
I'm so glad. Whenever I'm really trying to focus, I put Mozart on in the background. That's not a very scientific thing to do, I know. Quick, what's your focus music?
My focus music?
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of drone this past week, so that's been working out for me pretty well. I want to say that my best focus music is something that I know and enjoy well enough, but also doesn't demand a whole lot of attention because I'm that familiar with it. I'd say stuff like when I listen to stuff like post metal for that. Something like ISIS Oceanic would be really good for that. The Ocean. Maybe some Godspeed. No, Godspeed is really good, but also I get like Godspeed just grabs me too much, so I start like I start focusing way too much on the music. Yeah, that. How about you?
For me, like dub techno, deep house, micro house, hypnotic techno, that kind of thing.
See, she could be making up these genres and I would have no idea. The only thing that convinces me she isn't is the fact that she takes music too seriously.
Stuff that's got a beat, but is also like wordless and ambient and not big and present enough to become the forefront of my attention and make me want to get up and dance. Just enough to like keep my brain grooving a little bit in the background.
Yeah. That's it. Like I feel like you gotta have a good balance. Like because a lot of the stuff I listen to does have like vocals or like big present lead lines. a lot of it comes to like, I'm super familiar with this, so
Yep.
even though it's got stuff going on, like it's still gonna fade into the background once my brain clicks in, you know? So, yeah, it's fair. That's fair.
You're fair.
I am?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's awful kind of you to say. Maho couldn't help but laugh as she realized Kurisu was saying the same thing she said earlier. In the 2 weeks since Kurisu had joined the team, Maho hadn't been quite sure how to deal with her, but now she wanted to know a little more. So she used the signal her coworkers always use when they wanted to take breaks.
Want to go get some coffee?
It sounds great. There's a bunch of stuff I wanted to ask you.
As she watched Kurisu follow her, filled with energy, she was reminded of the pet dog she used to have. But later she would realize that it was one of the things that made Kurisu cute. She got 2 hot coffees from the lab coffee machine, and the two of them talked about their research for a while. Must have been a strange sight. 20-year-old Maho and 17-year-old Kurisu debating the latest developments in cerebral physiology while drinking coffee out of paper cups.
I hate drinking coffee and tea out of paper cups. That's my least favorite way
Yeah.
to consume it.
Yeah.
I mean specifically, not just like in general, like a Starbucks cup or whatever that's purpose made for that, that's fine. But when you like go to a conference or something or like a public talk and
Yep.
there's just like an awkward little paper solo cup
You know what
next
it
to
is?
the coffee machine.
You know what it is? It's a tacit admission that the coffee isn't there to be enjoyed, it's there to be fuel.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it picks up a kind of papery taste and it soaks through the cup by the end of the
Exactly.
speech.
Exactly.
Because
If you're
that's not the
serving
point.
coffee or tea in a paper cup, you are admitting to the people drinking this that you don't really care much about the taste of this, you just need to stay awake for a while. Right?
Yeah.
There is so much to enjoy in coffee and... Sorry. James Hoffman got to me, okay? But the two of them realized that since they'd never had someone of the same sex and age to work with, these conversations were a big help to both of them. Having the older Maho around must have been a particularly big help to Kurisu. Once in a while, Kurisu would still call her senpai, the Japanese word for an upperclassman or more senior colleague.
You know, I once heard that Einstein liked to play the violin.
You seem to have a lot of respect for Mozart. Maybe it's a tradition for scientists to like Mozart, huh?
If that's true, then it's an honor.
Oh, hey, this got us the 50% CG achievement. I can't believe we're already at half CGs, actually.
When we are not at halfway through the routes.
No, not at all. Aw, that's a good one. Do you want to edit that one? That feels like a good one for them to be. Cup of coffee? It says cup of coffee on our cup.
I don't think I have anything funnier than that.
That is pretty damn funny, actually. It literally says cup of coffee. Yeah, it is what it is. After a short debate about their work, the two of them talked about Mozart until they finished their coffee. After she'd had a real conversation with Kurisu, Maho realized she was totally different than her first impression. Every time she spoke, she'd smile or pout. It was adorable to watch. But the only thing she had in common with most people was her age, and her age was her appearance. She was a genius.
Do you know what Einstein said when someone asked him what death meant to him?
No, what do you say?
Death means not getting to listen to Mozart anymore. It's a fairly famous phrase in Japan.
Death means not getting to listen to Mozart anymore. You know what that is for me? Death means not getting to listen to Steve Reich music anymore. It means not getting to listen to music for 18 musicians. It means not getting to listen to different trains. It means not getting to listen to Vermont Counterpoint. Like,
I don't know that one.
you don't?
I don't know that one. Have you ever made me listen to that?
I've got None Such Records put out like a huge fucking collection of Steve Reich compositions.
Mm.
I gotta make sure you get that because
Yeah.
if you like minimalism, I don't know if I got minimalism. I don't know why I'm the one to tell you this, but go listen to Steve Reich. If you don't like minimalism, go listen to music for 18 musicians and get back to me. It was a more romantic phrase than she'd expect from the Einstein she thought she knew.
I had no idea. He really said that, huh?
No, he didn't.
What?
Well, to be completely accurate, we can't prove that he didn't say it, but at least there are no records of it.
Oh, what do you mean?
Kurisu smiled and put her finger up to her lips.
A book that was published in Japan a long time ago had that phrase as a quote from another biography. But the Japanese book didn't specify which biography they got the quote from, and no one has ever found it.
So the author made it up? Sheesh.
Source, I made it up.
Source, me.
We can't prove that, so we can't be totally sure.
Source, private discussion with Einstein.
But I think these words are very much what a logical man like Einstein would say.
Remember, the way to show that your character in a work of fiction is a genius is to have them constantly talking about Einstein. That's what all people who have that kind of intellect in real life do with their time.
Yeah.
Logical, huh?
Yes, because once you're dead, you can't listen to Mozart, right?
I mean, not with that attitude. Of course not.
Yes, of course not. Once you're dead, you can't listen to anything at all, not just Mozart. Thus, the statement is true. See? Logical, right?
You're very interesting, you know that? Intelligence and childishness all wrapped up in the same brain.
I'm not childish.
Sorry. I know it's a bit late, but it's a pleasure to be working with you, Kurisu.
Maho offered her hand, and Kurisu shook it with a smile. Kurisu's hand was warm.
You too, Maho.
Mozart had brought the two of them together. Kurisu was a child beloved by God. Everyone was amazed and astonished by her unmatched creativity. Everyone, including, of course, Maho. Something. It felt like she had to remember something important.
Good morning.
Someone suddenly whispered in her ear, and Maho jumped off the sofa.
What? What?
Kurisu was right.
At some point, Dr. Leskinen had picked up the laptop and taken it behind Maho's back. Kurisu was on the screen, laughing at her. Evidently, the professor had brought it close to Maho's ears and made Kurisu whisper to her.
You were just in your concentration mode, weren't you? No matter how many times the professor called your name, you wouldn't come out from your little world.
This is one of those things that sounds fake until you've encountered it yourself, and you're like, oh yeah, I had no idea that was going on. Because your brain could just shut off stuff.
I was thinking about frogs. Of course I didn't notice anything that went on for the past 3 hours.
One mildly frustrating version of this. We have a big kettle that we fill up every morning and with water for the both of us to make coffee, tea, whatnot, right?
Yep.
It takes a while to get to temperature, and when it does, it plays a really long little number. What do you like?
That one is the one that plays Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Is the kettle the one that does Twinkle Twinkle
Yeah.
Little Star? Right, and it goes through the entire thing, right? Which is not short. It's not short. It's not just like a second or two long. It's like 10 seconds or something like that. It goes on for a while. And for the life of me, I can never hear it when it goes off. It will go there, blare loudly, presently, for several ongoing seconds, and I just won't hear it. Both of us will come back like an hour after it's finished going off and be like, wait, did it go off at some point? I never heard it. Did you hear it? Oh, the worst version of this.
Also, I just did it live during this because I was trying to remember, wait, is it actually the that one that does Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, or is it the rice cooker? Is the kettle the one that does Fur Elise or something? I can't remember.
Oh, that's a good question.
What?
I feel like I don't remember which one is which now.
One of them does Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
We
and
need to
I feel
stop
like the
getting
other one-
appliances that sing to us.
We should only get appliances that sing to us.
Damn it.
No matter how many times the professor... I already read this line.
Oh, well, sorry about that.
I'm impressed that you can continue your research even while this emergency's going on.
The professor put the laptop back on the table and sat in the sofa across from her. And then they started the meeting. She discussed their future plans with the professor. One of the options that came up was going back to America. Something kept bugging Maho the whole time during the meeting. When she was remembering how she had met Kurisu, she was also remembering something else. Salieri, Maho's user account name. She depicted a month after Kurisu had died. For some reason, she couldn't stop thinking about it. After she finished her meeting with Dr. Leskinen and left the school, she realized it had started to rain.
Huh. It did rain after all, huh? Japan's weather reports are surprisingly accurate. I wonder if Kiryu stopped in some shop somewhere.
Just as she went to take out her phone and send a message to her, she got a message of her own from Kurisu.
It was fun talking with Sawayama today. Tell me about Okabe next time.
I had fun too. I've said this before, but it's not like that.
Garo froggies.
Who is Sawayama?
Ah!
What did she say? It was fun talking to Sawayama today. I
Yeah,
don't know.
Who is that?
She was about to snap and say something back when she saw Moeka in her field of vision. Oh no. Show me the... She'd opened her folding umbrella and was crouching by the side of the road with her phone out. When Maho approached, she saw a flower blooming between the asphalt and the shrubbery. Moeka was trying to take a picture of it.
Sorry, Kiryu. I'm done.
Moeka looked up and opened her mouth hesitantly.
It's okay. We needed Tights fan service.
What? Oh, I see. Is that why the camera guy's down there in the gutter? Getting all wet? What's his name, Dave? Doing good, Dave.
Maho was happy that she had said her name.
You were taking pictures of the flowers, huh?
Yeah.
Moeka nodded and looked back toward the ground. There was a tiny flower blooming where the asphalt met the shrubbery. There was no other flower like it in view. The wind must have brought it here. The flower's color was striking, but something, perhaps the rain, made it look sickly. Moeka took a picture of it. Then another and another. The umbrella in her hand seemed to be stopping her from taking a good picture.
Want me to hold the umbrella for you?
No, I'm fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Here.
Maho practically yanked the umbrella out of Moeka's hands.
Go for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moeka used both hands to steady her camera. Then, when it came into focus, she pressed the button. A moment later, she stood up, satisfied.
I got a good photo. I'm all set.
I'm not sure why we're focusing on me for your line here, but all right. Were you getting ready for my portrait, huh?
Moeka shook her head.
I can't take your picture. It's raining. I always take pictures of landscapes.
You like taking photos?
Moeka shook her head again.
It's proof. Proof of where I was today.
Proof, huh?
Yeah.
Huh. What do you mean by that?
And then she heard the sound that meant she'd received a Ryan message.
Is that from Kurisu again?
I got one too. It's from Ferris.
From Ferris, huh?
Here we go. It was fun talking with Sawayama today.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tell me about Okabe next time. That's not Leskinen. No, his name is Alexis, right?
Yeah.
Alexis Leskinen.
Yeah, we don't know anybody named Sawayama. And tell me about Okabe next time is a weird thing to say. Kinda.
Yeah. Well, not really. That's just Kurisu being...
Okay.
Yeah, that line alone, I could... It might be something. I could see it be just Kurisu being Kurisu.
Hmm.
It's not Reyes' name, because she's Judy Reyes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I don't know what that... Huh. Anyway.
Disaster, Nya! The 314th prophecy of Fatima has come to pass, Nya! The hearts of men have lost the will to believe, and the seal created by the sacrifice of the ancient Incan civilization has been broken, Nya! It's only a matter of time before the Dark God, the master of Pluto, revives! Not only the Earth, but the whole Galactic Federation is in danger, Nya! Summon the House of Lords and the Senate immediately, nya. The president is missing, but I'm sure he's flown off in Air Force One or something to fight the enemy himself. Yeah. I'll start the ceremony to seal him away once more. I want you to buy time for me until it finishes, nya. Thank you.
Someone didn't pay attention to Ferris for longer than 5 minutes.
If you don't pay attention to Ferris if she's left alone for too long, she starts getting antsy, and it kind of builds up over time.
Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me.
Wait. What are you talking about?
Bah.
That was a joke, nya. Sorry. But there really is big trouble.
Bah.
What happened? I'll explain later. There's a critical mission I want you to do before you head back to the condo, nya. Huh?
Both Maho and Moeka looked at each other, confused by Ferris's strange message.
Welcome to both of you, nya. The time limit approaches, but there is still time.
Ferris, you used to be better than just saying nya at the end of every sentence. You used to kind of work him in there. Just saying nya at the end of every one isn't really that's not dedication to the craft.
Is everything ready, nya?
It's ready.
Yeah, I guess. Then let us begin, nya. This operation name is... All Night Cinderella Girl Secret Party Shocking Sleepy Confessions, nya.
Why does Maho have that ready to go?
That's definitely just her normal everyday pajamas.
So Maho's I understand. Ferris's I understand. Moeka, why do you have just straight up lingerie? That's not I'm going to sleep lingerie. That is I need someone here to fuck me lingerie. Right. At least Ferris is having a good time.
Yeah.
Does she sleep with the ears on?
Apparently.
What's wrong, you two? You're so low energy, nya. We don't get many chances to have a girls' night. Let's have fun together. I guess we can. I think the important mission you had for us was skipping dinner.
The two of them had suddenly gotten a message that Ferris was having a girls' party that night. Ferris had asked them to skip dinner so they'd have empty stomachs for the party, and both Maho and Moeka had done so.
Okay, eat whatever you want. I brought something a little pricey for the cakes and ice cream, nya.
Ferris started to rummage through the plastic convenience store bags with a smile. Normally, Ferris acted like she was rich, and in fact, she was rich, so she could easily have purchased the most expensive cake that either of them could have ever tasted. But she realized that the right cakes and ice cream for a party like this were the ones you got at a convenience store, and she purchased them there without any hesitation. Maho thought that must be the one reason why customers and maids at May Queen admired her so much. She'd been working short-staffed at May Queen since the start of the year, so it would have to have been hard, but she wasn't showing any signs of exhaustion at all.
Huh? What's wrong, Maho nyan? Did you fall in love with Ferris? Oh, I love it when girls fall in love with me, nya. What? I mean, it depends, I guess. It depends on a couple of things here. I got something kind of going on with Moeka, maybe, so I don't know. Well, no, it's not like that. Don't be so embarrassed, nya. I'm happy that you seem to like your present, too.
Oh,
that's
that
even
explains
better.
everything, doesn't it?
Those panda pajamas look great on you, nya. Just as I thought. It's not that I like them. It's just rude not to wear something that's a gift, right?
The hooded panda pajamas that Maho was wearing were a gift from Ferris.
I don't mind the fact that it fits perfectly, but this is definitely a child size. You're like a little doll, so I'm sure anything looks good on you, Maho nyan. Stop calling me that, I said. And please, don't think you're gonna make me wear a different pair of animal pajamas every day. Nya? Wait, what? You weren't seriously going to. Maho nyan, can you read minds, nya? How did you know that I already had a week's worth lined up? You already bought them?
Just as Maho was starting to realize that Ferris was just toying with her, Moeka was covering her mouth with her hand and trying not to laugh.
Kiryu? Moe-nyan?
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but...
Maho saw Moeka smile for the first time. So this was how she smiled, huh?
Moe-nyan, that smile is so cute, nya. Let me see it one more time.
Why is it that a game this raging straight, this like this game goes to great lengths to make, no, it's straight. We swear it's straight.
Yeah.
Why does this have so many scenes of women grabbing each other's chests? It's happened multiple times now.
Yeah.
Is all I'm saying. Multiple CGs dedicated to it. Ferris's eyes sparkled in the dim light. Without warning, she leapt upon Moeka and started to tickle her sides.
Tickle, tickle, tickle.
Stop it.
Once again, Maho with the great face. Can we take a moment? That's not a laughter face for Moeka. That is something else. All right, moving briskly along here. Moeka was evidently very vulnerable to tickling. She squirmed as tears formed in her eyes and she started to gasp for air.
No.
I feel like I'm doing something naughty, nya.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you kinda are. Why did I sound like Moeka for a moment?
Ferris backed off as Moeka panted and gasped for breath.
It sure is nya amazing, though.
See, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Ferris and Maho looked at each other and spoke.
An amazing rack, nya.
What the fuck is happening in this route? Like, actually, what is going on in this route? Moeka was wearing a crimson baby doll as her pajamas. It was the kind of adult lingerie that you could never imagine a girl like her wearing. Of course, she seemed unaware of this and had seemingly only chosen it because it was easy to move around in. But with Moeka's natural proportions, she ended up looking incredibly seductive. And on top of that, when her massive breasts shook as Ferris tickled her, even Maho felt a little strange.
Sorry.
Actually,
sorry.
You know what? I take it back. Given that Moeka picked that out for herself, I can absolutely see that checking out, actually. Given how Moeka thinks about things, I could absolutely see her being like, that seems comfortable and I could have the biggest, most freedom of movement in it. Also, It's technically pajamas, right? That counts. This is fine. There will be no repercussions from this. Now that I've seen the thought process step by step, okay, yeah, no, it checks out. Moeka apologized as she gasped for breath. Maho shook her head to drive away the strange feelings.
No homo.
What? Oh, I mean, yeah, no homo. Yeah. I guess that's what we're all doing. Oh.
Why did you start this? Nothing good comes from this.
Oh, whatever. All right, let's start the party. Okay, bring out the chilled drinks, nya. Tonight, no one gets any sleep.
No one gets any sleep was Ferris's idea of a joke. She had work early next morning. The party lasted exactly 2 hours, and they talked the whole time. Actually, Ferris talked the whole time, and Maho and Moeka would occasionally answer. At most sleepovers, girls talked about fashion and romance, maybe, but these girls weren't interested in those things. Instead, they talked about work and their futures. Actually, that sounds about right. It was fun to see a different side of each other as they spoke. Moeka, for instance.
I'm writing a novel for fun.
Oh, hey, she's still doing her cell phone novel. She said she'd been reading one of the web novels that were popular lately and decided to write one herself. And what's more, she said it was a romance with some really steamy scenes.
Let me read it, Nya.
I can't. I haven't even finished the first chapter.
Ah, yes. Moika refused, but Ferris and Maho made her promise to let them see it when it was finished. Ferris had something surprising to say as well.
I'm gay, everyone. Wait, sorry, that's not what we're doing. I'm not gonna quit being a maid, but I want to get married, Nya. I want a lot of kids, Nyan.
Ferris had lost her family when she was young, so she wanted a big family of her own, and as soon as possible. Probably going to be a very lively family. Unfortunate, we never see how that works out for her. Unless future Ferris had a big family and then World War III happened. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no.
For the last 30 minutes, Ferris talked Maho into giving a lecture on AI research. Maho gave a slightly less formal version of the interview she'd done yesterday. And if you'd like an idea what that's like, please replay the first 40 minutes of this episode.
Yeah.
She talked about the framing problem, about Amadeus, and about a future where AI surpassed humans. Ferris was interested in more than anime culture. She was into technology and gadgets as well, and she paid close attention to what Maho had to say. But as Maho spoke, she realized Moika was starting to look depressed.
Kiryu, what's wrong? What's going on? Are you getting tired, Nya?
That's not it. I'm scared of the future.
Scared of the future, huh?
Yeah. Once there's an AI that's better than humans, I think a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. I'll probably be one of them, and that scares me.
So that was it.
Maho thought to herself. Maho had only lived with Moika for a few days, but she'd started to figure out her personality. She was a very pretty girl with amazing proportions and good at her job, but Moika seemed to think she was worthless. She thought that nobody needed her and that if someone better than her appeared, they would quickly take her place. And once that happened enough, there was no place left where she belonged. Then what would happen to her? That scared her.
It's all right, Kiryu. That's right, Nya. You don't need to worry.
I don't have any special talents or smarts like you two. Anyone can take my place. Anyone can do a better job than me. I'm not as talented as you two.
So what? No, literally. So someone could take your place. So someone's better than you. Who cares? Maho-nyan? There are a lot of scientists who are more talented than I am. And maybe someday the AI I invent will write a paper better than I ever could. But so what? At Dr. Leskinen's lab at Victor Condrey University, the nearest desk to the entrance is my seat. The door wasn't put on right, and the wind always blows through it. You can always hear people chattering in the hallway, but it's my seat. Even if the universe itself were to end, I'm not giving that goddamn seat up to anyone. Even if a more talented scientist or a more talented AI wants it, I am not giving it up. I won't tell you that no one can take anyone else's place. That's just a platitude, right? But there really aren't that many jobs in society where you're truly irreplaceable. But that doesn't mean you just have to hand everything over. Because I'm me. I'm not someone else.
I am me.
And it doesn't matter how talented you are. Say there was some kind of biorobot that was identical to Ferris, right down to the molecular level, and it could do a better job of serving you than she could. I'd still rather ask Ferris. Even if it cost me 10 times or 100 times more, I wouldn't ask the robot. There's no real reason for it. I just want to drink the tea that she makes me. That's what I'm saying. So, will you go out with me?
But am I wrong, though?
No.
Maho was getting so emotional she didn't know what to say next. She realized that Moika and Ferris were staring at her in shock.
Sorry about that. I just kind of,
I am me. Maybe I am.
Moika smiled just a little.
Mahonyan! Mwah! Ah!
The next instant, Ferris was on top of her, squeezing her tight. See, they're not even full ears. They're just little cones that go around her pigtails. Interesting. I thought they were different than that.
Wait. What's going on? What's going on?
Ferris was smiling at her with her dewy eyes.
That was so moving, Nya. I didn't realize Mew loved me so much. I love Mew too. I'll make you tea for the rest of your life, Nya. What? Oh, is that what I just... Oh, I mean...
Moika's just looking on like...
Hold on, I still never got confirmation, but I'm a little confused. Best friends threesome?
The next few minutes were a struggle to stop Ferris from rubbing her face against her cheek. Which is something that platonic friends do.
Yeah.
And not, say, my wife at 3 a.m. when she wants more of the blanket.
I will neither confirm nor deny this.
Sorry to put you on blast. What do you think? We call that a sode?
Sure.
That was gayer than I thought it would be today. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you.
An episode made entirely of lengthy tangents and homosexuality and nothing else.
I feel like that's our brand.
Yeah.
I feel like that is exactly our brand. So if you didn't enjoy that, why are you on episode 14? That's my question to you. Bye, everyone.
Peace.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.